Martin Misof. I hope I said that right with
Oh,
the English accent. Herr Misof.
well, thank you very much for the invite. Stoked to be here. Uh, Currently sitting in Innsbruck, not unlike you.
Unlike me, this is true. For those of you who don't know, broader audience here, Martin is an OG in the ski world and has been at it. When did you start free skiing, technically? I saw the moguls results or aerials, I guess that's 2002.
Started was with free skiing what it was back then in '96. To be fair, yeah.
That's crazy, man. Were they twin tips back in 96 or probably not, right? That's later.
No, that was I actually wanted to start snowboarding, but I was a racer. I started racing as as an Austrian, or especially from Tyrol. You start skiing when you're like 2 or 3 years old, and then obviously you start with racing, and then that got boring. Tried a bit of Nordic ski jumping for a year. That got kind of boring for me quick as well, and then figured I wanted to do something like snowboarding, and wanted to snowboard. My parents said, "Yeah, we just bought race skis, so no snowboard for me." So my grandma went to a shop and told the guy, like, "Yeah, I want a snowboard." So I got a crazy banana snowboard that was not really working with my ski boots and like these old school ski boot bindings. And so I went back to my shorter skis and did like whatever tricks my friend tried was with a snowboard. I tried on skis. That's how I got into it. And then over the years, started with aerials. And as soon as I got my hands on twin tips, basically didn't really want to do aerials anymore. But that was the sponsors that I had back then that were paying me, or at least got me product. And then I went to SBC camp in Hintertux Glacier with my back then girlfriend. She was a snowboarder, and she was riding for Volkel snowboards. And I went to the camp with her and just rode the park, which back in the day, that was a ridiculously good park. And then the Volkel guys wanted to sponsor me, but stop aerials and start free skiing. So I did that, basically.
Dude, that's sick. What year is that all in? The vocal sponsor? I didn't even know they made snowboards.
Yeah, they did. Well, even Atomic did make snowboards back in the day. So,
I guess like the
what year
hot
was that?
commodity.
That was 2001. Two, yeah,
Sick.
2001.
Dude, I'm so stoked. I'm gonna ask you, I want the entire timeline of freestyle skiing from your lens because I have not, I think, spoken to anyone who's been around since 2001, like in skiing ever. But to finish the intro, Martin's out in Innsbruck, Austrian local, been around the game for a while, skiing. We were just talking about doing comps with TJ Schiller and the US Big Air and all that back in the, I guess, do you call them early 2000s, like 2000 to 2010 era? And we'll get into that. And now it does, announcement is still a big part of the sport for sure. So, dude, let's get into it. Let's hit it timeline wise right out of the gate. So, you mentioned that you were doing the aerials, riding on vocal. Like, what was the ski world like at that point in Austria? Or like, set the
Well, there wasn't really ski world. Snowboarding hit off pretty big, and like especially the summer camps in SBC camp in Hintertux and Gap camp in Garmisch, where like pretty much every snowboarder from around the world made their way during summer there. So that was the best parks we had back in the day. Um, there wasn't really a free ski scene yet. I would say there were like three guys that started it in Austria, and that was Alex Zicke, now works for Red Bull and has been working for Red Bull for years. His friend Stefan Höris, that completely went a different way than continue skiing and myself. Uh, and then we basically developed it from here. And then we had good guys starting to do competitions here, like Austrian Open and stuff like that. And that's how I grew here. But like timeline, like 2002 is when I got started, and I did my first US Open in 2000 and maybe 3 or 4. I'm not 100% sure.
Sick. So how did you go from, I guess, growing up, you grew up in Innsbruck, right? Or Halle? Yeah, Innsbruck, local through and through. How'd you get from skiing there to getting on the comp circuit, and what did it look like back then? Was this before FIS or any of that?
That was way FIS. My first US Open, I arrived at the start, and there was there was a French crew. I don't want to like I don't want to say any names, but blazing like hash joints right before they dropped in. I was never an angel, so I'm not saying I didn't do anything, but it was just a different era. So it was, let's just call it different. Um, but how did I get to ski the state? Like when I was still doing aerials, I was in Whistler, and I met a girl. I was there for World Championships for aerials. Didn't make finals, so I was bummed. And I called a friend that I knew from Innsbruck that lived there, and went to a party and met a girl and fell in love. And she was from the States, so and she was a pro snowboarder, so I got to uh, get into a lot of like good parks or good places to ride. She lived in Whistler back then. Then we lived in Stratton Mountain because that's where she was from. And then we lived in Mammoth for like 3 seasons. So that's how I got to ski in the States, and that was kind of mandatory to be kind of good at that time, because parks were in Europe just were not at that level where when you get to big competitions that you'd be able to compete.
Yeah, like the level of just shaping and everything wasn't good, I guess, in Innsbruck. So what were the main parks back in the day, like early 2000s around here? Who were the first to do it?
Well, North Park, the one that now still is like right North Kette, you've been up there. Like it's always been the go-to park in Innsbruck. There was nothing else around Innsbruck, but the first big ones were Penken Park, like in
Mhm.
Meyerhofen. That was the closest good park with serious sized kickers. That was Stefan Plattner started building that to a good level.
Yeah, so I guess just Penkin and Nordkette. Did Tukes have any, like Hintertux have anything at that point too, or?
Uh, Only during the SBC summer camp, not in winter or like fall season. Only these. I think it was a month back then. It was like always like company weeks. Like it would be like the Burton week or the vocal week and stuff like that. And they always have, and that was the main difference, I would say, back in the day. You were like not skiing for a nation, you were skiing for a company.
Mhm.
So like it was way more diverse. Like you'd have friends all around the world just because you ski with them through the company, and you live with them, and like you get houses with them at different events. So that was I think that was a really cool thing, because it was, yeah, just more diverse. You get to meet more people. You get to hang out with different kinds of people, and not just that one nation's team.
Yeah, I bet. And like you mentioned a lot of snowboarding. How was the relationship between skiing and snowboarding back then? Because I've heard stories of like, skiers weren't allowed in the snow parks, like it was only for snowboarders and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what what I experienced. I mean, of course, there was thick snowboarders all over the place, but that was mostly the ones that were really not that good and just tried to find something to complain about. Like I remember they were always like, you know, skiers make like fuck up the takeoff. And if you look at a snowboarder carving on one edge, doing carving turns on the takeoff, that compared to skiers who most likely, I mean, a lot of skiers carve, but then at least it's two edges. It's not like one rut. So all these complaints to me were like, yeah, just excuses to be different and be special. Because I mean, they they fought for their parks. They were the ones brought that stuff in, but yeah, kind of kind of racist, I would say, to exclude anybody from any park.
Yeah, is it sportist at that point, or like I don't even know. Like, oh, they left a pole in the landing, ban him for life.
Yeah, but yeah, my experience, it's yeah, it's mostly the guys, or most likely the guys who are not even that good and wanna sound like they are.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like localism, in, like SoCal surf world. Like, stay
Yeah,
off
yeah.
our break. Like, what's your zip code?
I mean, if you look at free riding, have you ever been up at North Park when it's powder and you try to get the first gondola? I mean, you have that in the
Yeah.
States as well. I'm sure there are fights as well, but it's it gets so stupid here.
Oh, really? Are people throwing fists over first laps at Nordketa?
Ridiculous,
No.
ridiculous.
I will admit I'm not that kind of early bird who's getting the first chair on a pow day. I also
Well,
don't snowpack enough. I feel like you never know too well. I let people go first. I'm like, oh,
I grew up at the bottom of the gondola. Like my parents' house is like a 2 minute walk to the gondola. So like I skied up there pretty much all my life, and there's certain days where I don't even go even if it's open. I don't go certain places because that area, it just can be really sketchy. Snowpack is one thing, and we we didn't get the snow that we used to back there, like back in the day. So yeah, it's not my favorite resort anymore, I would say.
yeah. Could you ski down to your house back in the day?
I skied to school back in the day.
That's sick. You definitely cannot do that anymore.
Oh, like during winter for like a month, like every, because we still had Saturday school. I would always like take my skis down just on Saturday to be able to not even like walk the 2 minutes home and get my ski gear to get straight from the cable car that went from my school to the gondola straight up the mountain, and skied all day, every day, first gondola and last gondola, one more run. So
That's sick. And for context, I guess for anyone who doesn't know these resorts, Nordketa is like a resort that's up on Nordketa, correct me if I'm wrong, North Chain in German,
yes,
northern facing mountain over Innsbruck, which is bigger than a small town, kind of almost a city by European standards. Surrounded by mountains north and south, and once upon a time, you can tell that people could ski down to the city in the winter because as you drive through the valley, you'll see all these local villages with T-bars that go straight into the inside of the valley where the main road is that would drive through it. And I don't know, I've been there for 2 years now. I've driven to probably every resort in Tyrol. I have yet to see any one of those lifts operating in the past 2 years.
sad but true. Yeah, sad but true. I mean,
Um,
Innsbruck. That the city of Innsbruck. Just to give a little insight of from my side. Like I've seen quite a fair share of especially mountainy towns and villages, and I've yet to find something like it. I mean, it's big enough to be a city, have a culture, like have cultural highlights We have a pretty big university. We're a really good hospital. We have the mountains left and right. For me, like for perspective, I walk 5 minutes downhill, and I like make it 7 if I go fast. And I'm in the city center at the Golden Roof, which is like the center of Old Town. And if I walk up the hill for like 7 minutes, I'm standing in the middle of the woods. So it's it's a perfect mix of city, yet like lots of nature, and it's filled with, I find, quite cool people that, like, let's say, like-minded people that are into sports in all kinds of shapes and forms. So yeah, it's a good place to be.
Dude, I couldn't agree more, and I think that's important to say as well. I mean, you've traveled around the US a lot. Like, I think the closest spot I can think of that would compare is maybe Salt Lake, like at very best, right? But Innsbruck is just super different because, like, Salt Lake, you need a car, you're driving 30 minutes to, granted, really good skiing, to be fair.
Yeah.
But you're in Salt Lake, like it's just not the same vibe. You know, it's people don't really hang out as much. You can't walk around the city. Like when I lived there, I'd moved there from, I was in Europe, obviously my whole life, and then kind of was in New York, where that's fairly metropolitan city. You get to Salt Lake, there's something really eerie about seeing someone outside. Like, it used to be, if I was on a street in New York and there was no one on the sidewalk, I'd get creeped out. I'd be like, something's wrong
Oh, fuck
here, you
yeah.
know? But in Salt Lake, it's like, if someone's on the sidewalk, they're probably crazy. Like, that, where aren't they driving? So it's just, you don't get the same vibe of just like a small European city, which is what Innsbruck is. And then, like you said, like everyone's like-minded. People just want to ski and, you know, hike and do all sorts of outdoorsy stuff and party, which has been really great. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen no you through partying, not even from skiing, which is kind of funny.
Well, I don't ski that much anymore, to be fair.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So Innsbruck, I mean, obviously, anyone listening, go visit, do yourself a favor. But back to, so skiing versus snowboarding. I guess, like, at that point in time, did you see the snowboard industry as more developed as like the freestyle skiing industry? Or what was the dynamic there, being in terms of just the competitions that were set up, the money that was flowing in from brands, like the presence of professional athletes and maybe the influence they had over their sport?
I mean, snowboarding was just going through the roof here, like, especially Innsbruck with like the air style. Anybody who's like anybody who's into big air competition, skiing, snowboard, knows the air style. It's been an absolute massive here in Innsbruck, and that was a huge impact as well for. Also, I mean, logistically for Europe, Innsbruck is just the center of the Alps. We have perfect highway connections to north, south, east, west. Uh, so plenty of companies got settled here in Innsbruck. So the snowboard scene was mad strong here, and so many companies put money in, and there were so many snowboard companies that, I mean, there were so many snowboard companies. Half of them, way more than half of them, don't even exist. Nobody even knows them anymore. So that it just went nuts, and for a place like Tyrol, where everybody is doing winter sports, like, there, back in the day, I think the number, it was beyond 80% of people were skiing or snowboarding, and that, I mean, that number went down a lot in the last years. But back in the day, when snowboarding gave the alternative to all the kids who were not into skiing, and that was, all the skaters, all the surfers, all the I just don't want to be a racer people had something to go for and enjoy in winter. So that one, it went nuts here. There was like small competitions in every little ski resort, started to build their at least one jump or put up a couple of rails, super sketchy shit that nobody really ever thought about, like risk or insurance or whatnot. But it went nuts. It was an incredible time.
Yeah, the good old days. It's funny to think like all the roots of freestyle skiing really just comes from like people on snowboards, just I guess kind of like revolting against kind of more square skiing, right?
Well, you know, I wouldn't say it's all snowboarders. It was skiers as well, but
Mhm.
the the development for like the rebels, like the rebels from skiing when were starting freestyle skiing, like aerials, moguls, and I mean it's not called ballet or rebel sport, but it was part of freestyle as well, and it, it was just doing something different. And then when that wasn't enough, and then the whole like surfing brought skateboarding, and skateboarding kind of brought skateboarding and surfing brought snowboarding to life. So that development just you were either like getting creative with the skis you had, or you invented a completely new sport that was snowboarding. And I think there's just there were rebels on both sides and inventors, and then I mean, who built the first jumps? I mean, that was moguls and aerials and not snowboarders. I know they look different, but if you look at really old aerial footage, that's basically just a normal big air jump, but they were just hucking flips like mad. So
Nice. And I guess also like within this time period, you're in Innsbruck, you're in Austria. You've probably traveled a bit with, it sounds like just the aerial skiing and you mentioned going to Whistler and stuff like that. But where does the US stand in comparison to the scene in Austria? What's your perception at that point?
for aerials or
I guess specifically for freestyle skiing and even snowboarding at this point. Because the way I see
well,
it, it's always like the US was kind of there doing it bigger first, but I only really came into skiing in like the 2007s, 8s. That's when like Breckenridge and was firing off. Park City was starting to get on the map as far as I could tell.
well, I mean, the only thing existing in free skiing was the states. So whatever if you wanted to do any big competitions, you had to go to the states. All the good parks were there. All the big shoots were there. I mean, in Europe, it was difficult to find like. I mean, there was Salomon, which is a European brand, but if you were not French, basically you had no shot with Salomon. I don't think it has changed much, but anyway. um, so you always had to go to the States to get any kind of like recognition or like serious sponsorship.
Yeah, so how did you end up going to the States? Like, what's your story? What landed you there?
Well, as I said, met that girl in Whistler, and then she like she got me on local skis. I was on the team quickly there, and then
Hmm.
I started traveling with her because she basically also started like kind of quit snowboarding and started skiing. She went from being a world championship half pipe snowboarder to being an X Games medalist half pipe skier. So that was pretty impressive. So I did a lot of the big comps with her as well.
That's awesome. What was her name?
Kim Stacy.
Kim Stacy. Shout
Mhm.
out.
Shout out.
Okay, so what year are you moving to the US and like what was that all like? Leaving Innsbruck behind and writing for Vocal. It sounds like maybe like the professional skier career is kind of like coming together a bit more on the freestyle side.
It was like because I couldn't stay in the States for longer than 3 months. It was always a back and forward thing.
Yeah.
So I would basically do early season in the States or Whistler or then uh, Mammoth, mostly Mammoth the last years. And to be honest, that was the best place to ride at that time. So did Mammoth early season, then went did did the December comps there, went home, and I mean, obviously drove to Colorado, did Keystone, Breckenridge, and so on. Copper wasn't really in the picture back then. That only came out a little bit later. But then flew home for Christmas and New Year most of the times, and then did January comp season in Austria, and then for February, end February, and then end of February going back to the States and doing all the stuff there again. And the season, which is way longer in Mammoth, especially. So that was my in, because I had a place in Innsbruck and I had a place in the States, so it was pretty easy for me to go back and forth, and therefore halfway affordable, because I didn't always have to rent houses and stuff, because I could live with my girl in the States and she could live with me here.
Yeah, I bet that sounds nice to have for sure.
Oh yeah,
Just hustling.
definitely got lucky there.
Yeah. So, and how was the comp scene like back then, traveling all these places? Like, who were the big top dogs that you were skiing with? Like, what were the tricks going down? What were the formats? Like, I have no idea. I'm super curious to get your take on like what the early
Well,
days of all of it was.
well, on the European side, like when I started, Candide was already. I mean, Candide I think is a year younger than me, but he was already like not doing comps anymore that much.
Mhm.
Tanner obviously was always in the picture. I got to ride with CR a lot. Um, I met Tanner when I was still doing aerials. Tanner was living out in Park City with Trace Worthington, who was an old freestyle coach that was a good friend of my coach back in the day. So I got invited for dinner, and when I arrived at his house, Tanner was doing a handrail, age I think 14, 13, 15, something like that, just outside his house. And I walked by, and that's the first time I met Tanner. Like, that's really energetic kid that went out to be quite the ski boss. That's just the way to say it. That's what he is. The comp scene from Europe, obviously, Yoon Olsen was very, very good and present. Who else? Laurent Fabre from France. Of course, I mean, Michael Degenot. You guys probably don't remember this guy. He
Is he
was
Swiss?
Yeah, he's Swiss.
Yeah,
He was
I
always the G.
he's a ninth
Unbelievable
word guy,
guy.
right?
Yeah, he was
Like bringing
exactly.
guns on the slopes and stuff.
Yeah, dude. He was like the big influence for Henrik, for example, for Harlan. Like that was his big inspiration ski wise. Who else was? I mean, Crichton. It's dude. There was so many riders that even I almost have forgotten about.
Yeah, it sounds like the field was like super stacked looking back now for like what it was. So yeah,
It was all the names that I'm saying, like the field. I mean, for US Open, it was always crazy, but a World Cup slopestyle now, or let's say 4 years ago when they didn't make the cuts harder, there were like 140, 160 athletes in the gate, and yeah. But US Open, that 1 year in Vail when I did it. It was four heats. It was 4 or 5 heats even. It was for sure 4, maybe 5 heats, each minimum 25 riders. So the field was stacked back in the day as well.
yeah, I bet. So I guess what's the format of competition back then? It's just this, like bunch of heats, finals.
Bunch of heats, 2 runs, best one counts,
Yeah,
basic. But
were
yeah,
reserves
not much.
allowed?
I mean, World Cups are run that way as well. Qualies is 2 runs, best one counts, and then for finals they go 3 runs or 2, depending on weather and conditions. And but So not much has changed considering the format, but it was a lot more loose. Judging, I would say judging was also, I don't want to sound harsh, but as a European, it was definitely harder to get good points than as a North American, I would say. And I also don't want to sound harsh, but the whole industry was run by a couple of big brands that had all their people in. I mean, it was a small community that started, so the judges were basically homies, or how you want to say. So yeah, it was a bit different for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't even know like how that dynamic would play out nowadays since it's so different, right? Like you mentioned, it's like way more nationalized versus just like these big brands that used to kind of like run, I feel, a lot of the industry back then. What were some of the, I guess, yeah, what were some of the big early brands that were out there? And then who were some of the riders that like they were riding for if you had to paint a picture of what the comp scene looked like?
Well, it all basically started with the Solomon 1080 and the Solomon 1080 team. Uh, that was the big player. Then of course, I mean, Dunastar came in. They signed Candide. He was riding for Dunastar back in the day. Then Rosignol, and then I mean, when Armada came out, the dynamic changed a bit because they became the player on the coolness level, on the what you wanted to ride for.
Mhm.
That definitely changed the game for everything.
Right on. So Rossignol, Selman for skis, Armada. I guess Volkel was probably around more as a European brand. Well, just like Dinstar and Salomon, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, vocal is very German speaking countries oriented. So, but that for the winter, like for the ski industry, that is a big selling region. So there is budget there, and if you look at it now, they are still, or they were, next to Atomic for years now, the leading brand competition skier wise, until Faction came in and boosted a lot of riders as well. But
Yeah, it is crazy how long they were around. And then what year is this? Your first like US Open is 2004 or 5?
uh, three, four, three, four, three, four, 2003, 2004, I would say.
Crazy. What's a winning run that you can remember? Like
See,
slopestyle and big air.
or slopestyle. It was something like right to Pretz two on a like on a flat down. No, right to Pretz two on a down. There was a four in on like a like a donkey, like a trunk rail, like a little rainbow to down, and
Mhm.
then three jumps. And it was, what was it? It was cork nine, something like right cork nine, some grab, switch seven to switch left seven to switch right 10, something like that.
Sick.
And it's somewhere there, I would say.
Yeah.
Good, like impressive skiing, that's for sure.
I mean, for back then it was, right? Like I feel so much more relatable back in the day. Like I remember when I started watching skiing, you'd see a dub 12 and you're like, whoa, that was crazy, and but it didn't seem like impossible to do. You could kind of figure one out on trampoline as a kid, and then you'd be like, oh, maybe I can do that. But I'm watching like triple or whatever, 18s, 19s, 21.
It's always what you grew up with, and that's how progression goes. I mean, when I started, uh, when when I started with like twin tips, like a Switch 5 was sick. Like a Switch 7 was the shit. And if you could do it like the and I don't even mean like left and right. I mean a Switch 7 either direction. Just the Switch 7 was the shit. You could win a bigger comp. Like the first big air competition I ever did, a guy named Janne Lahtela from Finland, who was a mogul skier, won the thing with a Switch 7. Was it safety or was it Japan? I'm not sure. Either or. That was a winning trick back then. And I was like, I want to learn that. And made my way to it and then went a little bit further than the 7, but it's always like as you said, like you see him do a dub 12. It's like I can do that. That's possible, and that's always what you work with. And now you see the kids throw triple 2160s, and I don't know if too many people are still like, I can do that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that looks fun.
See I came from aerials, and that's how that sport uh, made
True,
their
true,
made
true.
their downfall. As soon as you lose, uh, people thinking exactly as you just said, I can do that, and you know the double 12. You got to be pretty good to like in your head with rotations and stuff like that to even think of that being possible. So I always find it kind of scary when it goes that way. But on the other hand, I've just been to the Big Air in Core, which always is the season World Cup Big Air scene opener, and it's always good, and it was ridiculous again this year. I mean, the kids are coming out firing gnarly,
Really jump too.
dude. I mean, the jump's not bad. Like for an in city jump, it gives
I
good
mean,
airtime.
right, but that it's like scaffolding and your landing has, I saw people, I think I told you land like 3 feet away from like the crowd or something or a
That was
drop.
one guy. That was one guy. Was it Dylan?
Yeah, the Canadian guy, I think.
Yeah, Dylan Deschamps, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did that on like, but he was the only guy going like, and on both of them. And to be honest, uh, look at half of the World Cup slopestyle runs now. The landing is that wide, and left and right, it's cut off, and you know you don't want to go there either.
Fair. Yeah.
So yeah, but dude, like Elias Syria bringing new shit. Troy Potman's like bringing new stuff. Cody LaPlante bringing some new stuff. Even Bush, like Fabian Bush, like he brought like a double 16 screaming seaman, or was it double 16 screaming seaman? Like gnarly stuff with like you don't have to like it, and some stuff was quite harsh. I mean, Matei won with that no spotted triple 18,
Hmm.
which is, dude, crazy.
A lot.
And then Elias got fourth with his, I don't even know what to want to call it. Is it? It's like a tail butter, but I don't. Is it a? I think skiing has uh, a lot of progression coming that is not oriented in the next spin, which I find very good. And respect to the judges, uh, I think they're doing a really good job in setting a tone of progression, yes, uh, but not just loosey goosey stuff. We want to see it done correct and right. Not only once that it looks like that, it has to be consistent as well to be valid. And also, like I heard a couple guys not being happy with what they were saying. You know, all that bring back stuff that kids are doing nowadays. I think some of it looks super cool. Some of it looks really ugly. Some of it I don't even find that it really is a bring back. So respect to the judges. I couldn't do it. I'm glad. I'm just there to talk some stuff. I'm just an idiot with a microphone.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's cool to see all the like more mind bending, like let me challenge physics kind of tricks now versus, someone got to 21. Even I think it was a few years back, like you saw a lot of people pushing triples, and then it got to triple whatever 21 or like a lot. Like someone had just done enough, right? And then folks, I think, started moving towards dubs more and looking like, how can I spin more into that rotation, like do more. And then like the next frontier was like you mentioned, like the bringbacks or the locks or like whatever you want to call them. And yeah, seeing like how people are now like, how do we take off different and like incorporate that into big air and everything is definitely cooler to see. That also gets me thinking, like, what is the progression of freestyle skiing that you've seen over the years, especially that early timeline? Because you're probably in it before people even were doing dubs, right? Like, what even was the first dub that you saw, and how did it progress from there?
The first, I mean, okay, I gotta start differently
Yeah,
because
back
when when I started, it was uh, I was an aerialist. I was doing triple backflips with 3 twists, so fulls.
Is that triple 21? What's the math?
That is triple 18, basically. No,
I think it's 21 because
it is
14
20.
is 733. So, oh, you're way
Well,
ahead of the game.
well,
Did you pull up a calculator?
but no, sorry, I don't know. I'm not used to Zoom. I swiped to the wrong way. Uh, I don't know. It's a triple backflip with 1 twist each, so it's called a full. Whatever you want to call that in big air terms. But when I started with big air, I could have easily done a double back 3, but nobody would have given me points for it
Mm-hmm.
because that was way too close to aerials. And so like I did double back safety grab, or double back Japan, and I would not get points. And it didn't even look that much different than let's say a kangaroo flip. That was just a different area. So that was the progression to where we are now is basically where aerials was 10 or 20 years ago. And now it's really difficult to why did the FIS make the rule that you have to wear poles for big air now?
Yeah, probably stay away from aerials, huh?
100%. What's the difference? It's the difference is then the difference only is that you grab or not.
Or just don't set your trick with your arm up, or
If you look at them now, like um what's her name? Tess Leder, for example. Like when she sets her double, Like she has a very upright and like aerialist. Like I don't that should not sound in any way negative, but it's just very technical, and that is very close to how the aerial technique, or it is the aerial technique. But it just that's how you set a double back with a whatever, however many rotations you want to put in there.
Yeah, true. I guess a lot of the sets are the same if you're spinning that much, isn't it? I don't know. I've never even spun beyond like a kangaroo flip myself, so I haven't put myself through it.
What's the highest rotation? Like a kangaroo or like the 10 or
Um, I've done kangaroo. I had like dub nine, pretty somewhat consistently. Like I don't know, 8 years ago. I've not done one since. Like I've done a few dub flats like here and there. Like every season, I'll get fired up and just hug one. And then like dub 12, I never got around to my feet, which kills me. Like I've always just washed out on it or been weird with it. And now I'm like turning 30 soon, and I was always like, fuck, I gotta do this before I turn 30. It's in January, so maybe I'll find a good jump at the start of the season. And then yeah, just like, like switch tens, or like, well, I've tried the 12 before and just completely ate it as well. But I never had a good like double rotation. Like I never wanted to do them flippy because I always thought that was kind of just not what I wanted for my skiing. And like anytime I tried,
too much aerials, right?
for me, like it was just not what I wanted. Like I like the nice, really wobbly ones. Like a bunch of people do it. I always think back to like Sammy Carlson's triple, like how he just had like such a flat rotation. And like that was cool to me. Like the fact that you can spin kind of not super flippy and off axis, but then people are docking Matej for like, oh, that wasn't a quad. Like your head didn't go under. It's like it's not supposed to. Like,
Oh, because you're mentioning Sammy, dude. Uh, Obviously, TJ was always somebody I liked riding with, and there, and I will never forget. And I just did forget, but the one guy on the tour that always made my brain go crazy was Mr. Simon Dumo.
yeah, you got any good stories?
Any, I I don't know where to start. Fuck. All right, one. I have to go for two at least. All right, so one story goes: we are at JOI, Universal Invitational in Aura, and it is night number whatever. You're there for a week.
What's a year?
What year? 2007.
So is Simon like a teenager still at this point, or
No, no. I mean, no.
Mhm.
So you get treated like a rock star at this event. Like chapeau, and that's the experience that you want to have once in your lifetime when you go to an event. So you get your gold key, and you get to go to any club. You go to the front of the line. You go in. You go VIP.
Nice.
You're just a made man. You go to any restaurant. You just show the key. It's like that. And then you also like at dinner. Also was handing out plastic dinosaurs, like little ones, and everyone was like, "What is it?" Like, wait, I'll tell you later. And then before we go to the club, it's like, so every dinosaur you can give to a girl and take her in with you. That's your plus one. And
Nice.
you know how Swedish club lines are. I mean, at that club it was like 300 hot Swedish girls in line waiting to get in. So we get in there. We're at the VIP and our friend zone, let's call it, and everybody, like a bunch of people, obviously, one of them being Simon Dumont, start throwing ice cubes around because there's bottles everywhere, and there's a couple like big dudes like just down outside that VIP area, and Simon keeps hitting them, and that there's that one big black dude, and all of a sudden that guy just gets angry, obviously, because he got hit I don't know how often, and he just walks, like steps over that band and walks up straight towards Simon, and the guy is like a meter away, and I sit a meter next to Simon. Simon jumps up and knocks that massive dude. I mean, you know, Simon isn't that tall, but he knocks out that massive dude. That guy falls over. Mayhem breaks loose.
Really, no conversation, just clocked him right out of the game.
Yeah, no conversation, just boom, boom. And then security's come and blah blah, and they block everything off. And then like, you guys, you should leave now because this guy is part of the hockey team that is celebrating whatever the fuck not right now, right here now club, and they're all right there. They're all gonna fuck you up. And I'm like, all right. I've never left the club that fast, dude.
Oh no.
Unbelievable. Simon.
I've heard he had a knack for just getting into fights like everywhere.
Everywhere. We went in Les Diablerae in Switzerland.
You got into a fight in Switzerland?
Sorry?
You got into a fight in Switzerland? No one fights in Switzerland.
Dude, that was like I don't want to say shitty, but like, you know, a discotheque, like a farm town discotheque in Les Diablerae, and he got in a fight with some random farmer dude over nothing, and he wanted to kill him. He just, dude, I don't know how long it took me to persuade him that he's not worth it. That first of all, because Simon got kicked out of the club, and he was waiting outside the club for this guy to come out. Like he was not going. It was Simon, yeah, incredible guy.
That's funny. Damn, I feel like I kind of miss those days of free skiing, of just like I've heard of the 10% rule, where it used to be like if you won a comp, you just had to put 10% on the bar, like wherever you were. Or like
Always
field mayhem days.
always that would, I mean, there was a 10% rule. There was always a talk about splitting prize money. Didn't always happen, but there was always the talk before a final, at least before finals or super finals. You talk about it and see who's down and who's not. Most like for us, most like we like in Europe for our scene, we were a tight-knit group of guys that basically just loved shredding together and did all the comps together, and it was the top 5 people. Like Nico Tsatsik was good, of course Laurent Fabre. Who else was like in that? And I'm forgetting. Of course, I'm forgetting a couple of guys that were always like up there and good. But yeah, we basically most of the time we split prize money in the top 3 at least. Until Russ Henshaw came around.
What happened with the Russ Henshaw?
You know the name?
Yeah. I mean, of course,
Yeah,
just all the
Australian
matches and shoots and
super nice kid. He came out because of a guy that I actually knew before him. Like he was coaching him. So Russ's dad was paying Nick uh, to coach him, and he came out to Austrian Open, and we would always split. And it was finals, and we were like, "Yeah, we're splitting." And Russ was like, "No, I'm not splitting. I need the money." And we were all like, "Okay, you're the guy coming from Australia with a private coach, and you're telling us that you need the money." Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Did he win?
Yeah, he did. He was good. He was really good. I mean, I got second, but he was really good. I got second. Yeah, I think that's second.
What was your trick?
That was a Switch 10 era,
Nice.
which, yeah, must have been maybe 12.
I remember Russ Henshaw for there was a movie from Matchstick where they did a shoot in Alyeska, and I think that was the first triple where like the movie came out at the same time as Revolver, where Sammy did his first triple that I remember seeing. But Bobby had done a triple flat 10 and then 12 on that massive jump, and they're like the session went off, everyone was doing trips, and like Colby James West was doing all the commentating for it, which is really funny. And they were like, Russ got really close to triple cork, it was fucked. And then you see the shot, and it actually was fucked. He had like a perfect triple cork 16 axis and just came to, I guess, like 15 and just caught an edge and like exploded, but never got it. And I was like, wow, like, holy fuck, people are trying triple corks. Like, where is this going? And then Bobby did his like the next year, like the triple cork 14, just perfect. That was the good old days where there's probably like a $20,000 red camera in a freaking helicopter flying over the jump. Like, who knows where that money came from? But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, that was 2009, 10, something like that.
Yeah. What year was that? I had a shoot up at Hemsedal for what was that? I think it was a vocal movie, and it was also matchstick shoot, and we had a huge quarter pipe, and there was a young little kid, like he wanted to ride, and they wouldn't let him ride, and I was just like, I don't care, just get on the T-bar with me, and we started talking, and I just snuck him in with me all day, and he was skiing like a little boss, that kid, and it turned out it was Andreas Hartweit.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, who then like we skied for Nike ACG back then together, and like became good friends. Like that was one of the nicest kids ever. And of course, yeah, Kobe, dude. Kobe's always fun.
Yeah, what's his story? Was he like big in the game at some point? Because he was riding for Monster and everything, and he still does stuff with Monster, I think, to this day. Like I heard a podcast of it sometime recently.
He he won the US Open Big Air once with that Switch 7 double nose, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least podiumed. And that like boosted his ski career. He didn't I don't I'm just saying this without real knowledge, but I don't think there was much results for him after that. But he was just an incredible character. Like he could do anything. You could just put him in front of a camera, and you would have a segment just of him entertaining you on skis, off skis. Yeah, good guy for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I love all of his just like voiceovers and stuff in the early movies. You don't really see that anymore in clips. Like even just personalities coming through. Like it was that and Chug Life were the two ones that I remember the most.
Man, Ian Costco.
Yeah, any good
Good
stories on
times.
him? I feel he must have done something that got in the memory books if you cross paths with him.
You know what he does now?
No, what is he doing now? Not Chuck Life.
He's a pilot.
He's flying planes.
He's flying planes like some I think somewhere north BC, some small airline.
Nice.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, I'd love to be on that plane.
Oh yeah,
We looped the
yeah.
plane
No, like his life turned around quite big.
like from skiing.
Yeah, I mean, Chug Life. Did you ever think that Chug Life is gonna be a pilot? Sorry, nope,
No,
not me.
we'd have to put a survey out there. I don't know if people still know what Chug Life is actually. Is it still on
Not
YouTubers or
sure.
YouTube? I hope so.
Damn, I haven't seen it in a while. That's for sure.
Like, dude, how much ski content is just lost out there? Like,
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
so much. Everything before 2010 is probably just hard to find at this point.
mm, probably. When was my friend as a pro?
2007?
Let's see.
That's still got to be on YouTube though.
Yeah, yeah. Kobe just did some acoustic version at some premiere. I think he's still down for that.
Sick, yeah, great track. Any
Oh,
other like big characters that you can think of from like that early era of skiing? Like the forgotten great ones that definitely would stand out, especially if you put them on like the tour today.
I mean, the Rorys were always. I mean, Rory Bushfield uh, and Rory Silva. I don't know if you remember this kid.
I know Bushy just from the double back, the switch double
He
backy.
was still back in Whistler.
Yeah, and then the whole like Sarah Burke thing and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, and Rory Silva. I think he was a Mammoth local even. Like he was on Ninth Ward as well. So like had uh um I mean we talked about Mikael Dejanot and then Shoya Okazaki, like the Japanese wunderkind, like incredible skier.
I think I've
Uh,
never heard of this kid.
he was on the early Oakley movies, and he was on the Solomon team as well in the first one. I don't know, not the first one, but the big one. Uh, First Poor Boys movies as well. The Phil's obviously always impressive. Who else was there? Hmm. Who else was there? The forgotten ones. Trying to think.
Yeah, I like who are the Rage Film guys? Do you remember that clip when they tried to build a jump that went both ways and then some kid almost died, like decking under the lip of the jump landing and just hitting one of the letters from the Rage Film sign? Forget who that was.
I was supposed to be at that shoot.
Oh, really?
I had a segment with Rage at on their on what was it called? Enjoy.
Dude, you were everywhere.
Uh, Back then, yeah. Um, that kid.
What happened? Yeah, what's the
He
story
was
behind that one?
he
Because
was
I've
he
only
was
seen the
part he
video.
was part Asian. He was really young, and I mean that jump, like that both way feature thing, it worked. It did work fine, just not for him. And yeah, it was not as like it was not a Mike Wilson undershoot,
Yeah.
but it was it was. I think he collapsed the lung and but not. not like Mike Wilson bad.
Yeah, like what? I guess what happened, because if people are going to be listening to this, but the setup from what I remember is you had two in runs that were almost on like opposite sides of a valley, or a tiny valley, it seemed. And then the takeoffs were the landings for the like opposite jump, pretty much, right? And then you just kind of got to point it and hope you clear them, because if you didn't, it was just a dead drop of just like a snow wall.
Yeah, but to be honest, back in the day, these gap jumps are in general. To be honest, like, dude, jumps back in the day were different than they are. We
Yeah.
had like the biggest like biggest park jump I ever hit was in Locks. They had an event that was a pre-event to the first European Freeski Open. It was called the Orage Jumpopotamus, and they built a huge pipe. They shaped the park in Locks really well, but they also built the biggest fucking bigger jump up on the Locks Glacier that I've ever seen. It was the takeoff was like 7.20 meters high, just
Like a
straight
half
down,
pipe. Yeah.
and then it had a 34-meter flat. And I'm not talking sweet spot, I'm talking flat. Sweet spot was around 40 meters. And
So
then a landing that you could easily like go to 60, 70 meters and still land. It was ridiculously big.
Jesus. People were clearing it?
Well, okay, who was there?
Who hits that first, too? Like, what's the science?
Exactly. So the story is this: we all get there, and by we, it was TJ Schiller, it was Rory Bushfield. Was it Rory? It was Laura Faber. It was Nico Zacek, Duki Borucic, myself, a couple Frenchies, a kid called something Meyerhofer, but from France. I'm mentioning him because we were all sitting there pissing our pants. No chance that any of us would like ball up and hit that thing. And all of a sudden, like, that guy's up there like, I'm going, and the guy just goes for it. Does the biggest three that I've seen up to that point. That was before the one that the Japanese kid did on the JOI jump that completely cleared it to the flat. I'm sure you've seen that one. The half naked one.
Oh, JI, where he just lands at the bottom. Like,
yeah. That's
Is he
basically
okay after that?
Sorry?
Is he okay after decking that three? Or probably not great.
Not really. Not. Sorry, I lost track. Where was I?
Yes, so someone does a massive 360 on the 40-meter, 120-foot jump.
Oh yeah. But then the session was on, and I did my first switch 12 on that thing.
You're joking. Is there a video of that somewhere? Is that Googleable right now?
I'm not sure. I would need to find it. I have a full poster, like an ad for Fisher Skis from back in the day, from that trick. And I was like, I was going for a switch 14 after that, and I tried it 3 times, but I couldn't get it around because, these kind of jumps, you don't have that much pressure on the takeoff anymore. You go so fast, and it's kind of a flat takeoff because you need to travel so much distance that like it's really hard to set a lot of rotation. You have massive airtime, but you have way less possibility to get a fast rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So no 14, but I was trying, and then I would have been the first one, and not TJ.
Oh, did TJ get the first? Where was that?
TJ got the first at the US Open Big Air.
Yeah, that's that post I just had up before this, right? From Drink Butter posted it on Instagram. Damn, dude. Did you have any NBDs?
I'm not sure. No, probably not.
Switch 12 on that big of a jump, you'd think was one. Like, what else went down during that session? What was the trick selection of people at that time?
Cork 9 on that jump.
Nuts.
I'm not sure if I'm the only one no, I'm not the only one who did switch, but it was back in the day. I was one of the people who would always hit every jump switch, no matter what.
Yeah, what year is this? Like 2006, 7, 5?
5. You can Google European Freeski Open, first European Freeski Open. I think that was 2004, and it was before that. No, it was maybe 2005.
Yeah, that's nuts. Like, how fast are you going into that jump, you think? At least 100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, at least.
What's that?
At least.
60 miles per hour, but probably way faster.
I would say so, because I was going beyond the sweet spot. So, flight, like for sure 40, 45 meters distance.
Yeah,
And then airtime, like high, like I remember a photo, like somebody standing on the knuckle, and on the knuckle, you're still like 5 meters in the air, because you take off at like behind the takeoff. You know these normal like pop up tents that you pull on the 4 legs, and you just pull up the normal stand kind of tents that every company has. One of these was behind the kicker, like fully lifted and open, and it looks small.
That's insane.
Stupid big.
Like, how is it to fall on a Switch 14 attempt on that? Like,
It
chill.
was actually it was actually not bad. I I was always pretty good with falling, but
Mhm.
I never 90'd it. Like I
Yeah.
just didn't make it past 12, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna make it. I'm basically barely coming to 12. And then one time I was going past 12, and I tried to get it around, and kind of did the last bit with my legs, and that was a fall that I didn't try it again after that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Probably get worked after that.
Yeah, but
That's sick, though.
it was
You gotta find the video.
it wasn't like rock solid.
Yeah, at least that's good. You
Mm.
mentioned the Mike Wilson shoot. Do you know what the
Mm.
story or logic behind that was? Or I've seen the video, but I'm just like, what? Why? And maybe
Well,
explain it, I guess, for people who like don't know what we're talking about.
well, the Mike Wilson undershoot is the infamous holy grail of undershoots that you could imagine. Uh, the jump is like built into a hill, though, so it's a death gap kind of jump. So you have that takeoff that is built into like a pretty steep in run, and has a very short transition, and then very short takeoff, and then it goes like, I would say, like 45 meters, and then a landing starts, but it's a step down as well. So it's one of the weirdest jumps you could imagine. It's like a
Dude,
step down death gap.
it
Yeah.
looked to me like he was trying to gap from one park jump to the next park jump in a
No,
jump
no,
line.
no,
Like
no, no.
that's what it
That's
looks,
how it looks. You're right. You're right. That's how it looks. But
which is nuts.
they built it that way, and as it happens a lot, or especially back in the day, if you get the chance to film a segment with whoever, and this is how you want to break through and you want to break out, you got to do something pretty gnarly, and that makes people not see risks as much, or that makes people risk more than they should sometimes.
Yeah.
That's sports.
And yeah, for anyone who hasn't seen it,
Nowadays you film everything. You just
yeah,
go out, you film everything, and you take the best shots. Back in the day, you like I told you about that shoot in Hemsedal. I
yeah,
was supposed to go with Nico Zacek, and I think somebody else was supposed to go as well. And 2 days before the trip, I was the only rider left. So me as the only rider, got in a car with two cameramen and a photographer and drove to Hemsedal, Norway, which takes 2 days to drive, to shoot a segment with three guys who are depending on me performing. That pressure gets to you, and also, I mean, it's not comfortable, and you do think like, I need to get something good, because that costs shit tons of money for all of these people to be there for me.
yeah,
So you definitely tend to risk uh, a lot doing what we loved to do.
yeah. No, clearly, it's interesting to mention the pressure part because I guess yeah, like you, I don't necessarily think of that in today's like ski world. Guess with filming, like obviously you got to get a crew out, you got to film, but I feel it's just like a lot easier with cameras and everything nowadays. Imagine having that helicopter coming over your big air jump, and you're like, guys, we get 3 hits each, like make them count.
But because you mentioning helicopters, uh, I had there's a competition called Nine Nights, or it was called Nine Nights. That was the first year that Nico Zacek invented it, and it started at Nebelhorn, and it was a massive jump, and it was basically a week-long film session where you could get good footage and progress new tricks, and do like have a good crew together, and ski together. And I had a quite rough crash because of a helicopter, because the heli would follow me, and the big heli like push like a pillow of air in front of them
Sure.
that totally changes your speed as a rider. And I got that pillow right when I took off, and I was going for a switch 5, and then I ended up doing a switch almost 10, 90-degree full on pow to my head, knocked myself out. But sliding down, my pole got caught in the snow, and the hand is in the I don't know how you say it,
The dragon, the whatever, the strap.
where you, the strap of the pole, and the pole gets stuck in the snow, and the hand is in the strap, and it pulls up my arm, so it looks like I'm waving I'm okay. So nobody's actually moving to come get me, and it's all on camera. And it takes a while. And somebody's like, "I think somebody should get him. He's not moving."
Already
Oh, my
hasn't moved
hand's
in a
still up in
minute.
the air. It takes a while till somebody like actually gets my hand down.
Oh,
But I mean, I was at the after party.
yeah, that's how it was back in the days. Did you hit your head? Just walk it
Oh yeah,
off, have a beer.
big time. That was at this event. I was there 4 times, and it stands 2-2. I knocked myself out twice, and I performed really well. I did really good twice.
Man, you got to go back for the tie break, eh?
Hell no. Well, that's another thing. Like I always thought I'll always be able to do a backflip, and mm-mm.
Yeah, you don't think you could backflip anymore?
I could, I
Could.
could. It's just not worth it. That's the thing. There,
Yeah.
there, there's a. I don't know if you want to see a good documentary about like extreme sports and dealing with it. The 199 Lives from Travis Pastrana is a must see. And one thing he says in there is, "I'm a risk assessment analyst. So when I do something, I think of what does it give me, and what can it take from me? Like, how bad could the injury be? How much money do I make if I make it good, or even if I don't make it? It just if I do that project, uh, and I try to see it that way as well. It's not gonna give me that much joy if I land that backflip than if I land back seat and my ACL goes cow.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. And you get me thinking, I guess, like we never talked about your career in depth, like of step by step, and we should, and we'll do that next. But I'm wondering like where you stand now, I guess, so many years out of freestyle skiing. Like what's in French you'd say c'est quoi le bilan des courses? Like what's the tally on the body like? Not that bad,
Uh,
like okay, like do you have to like stretch?
I honestly have to say I got away pretty well. I mean, of course, the knee, the shoulder is tweaky a little bit and hurts every once in a while, but in general, I got away pretty good.
Yeah, you're still walking and running, I assume, and all that good
Still
stuff.
walking, I'm still running. I can still ski. I can still do pretty much any sport that I want to. Uh, so yeah, I got away really, really well compared to so many of my friends that I look around and I'm like, oof,
Yeah, what do you think the average is? Like average outcome in like your 40s or whatever after skiing?
dude. I like, Innsbruck, as we were saying, there's so many. There's a saying in Innsbruck: every third door that you ring the bell is an Olympic gold medalist. So there's a very high rate of uh, professional athletes living in Innsbruck.
Yeah.
And that's why I know a lot of them as well. And mm, I got away really good. I see plenty of people like getting new knees at 45. It's yeah.
Yeah. Not as fun, I'm sure. Did you ever deal with like any major injuries yourself? Like you mentioned the knee.
My knee wasn't fun. My shoulder was. I didn't have surgery on it, but I don't know if that's a good thing. After all, it still bugs me. I had three collarbones with like plate in, plate out. 6 weeks later, broke it again. New plate in. They took bone from my hip and like uh, hammered it out and transplanted it into the collarbone. Like,
I've been
but
there. I got mine here.
uh,
Yeah. Is that left or right for you?
that's my left one.
Oh,
Three
I got
times,
right.
always the same.
I can't believe they take the plate out for you though. I feel it's like a German thing in the US and people are like, why would you take the plate out? Like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the last one stayed in. I said, "Fuck him." I just
Yeah.
never quit.
How'd you do your collarbone up? Or I guess the multiple times.
Oh well, the first one is a good one. I was in Madrid. Um, yeah. Get this one. So I I
Oh,
get invited. I get invited to go to Madrid for a show. So they they invited me to do a show for the opening of the Xanadu Snow Dome. So an Iraqi oil dude wanted to build a shopping mall And the government of Madrid said, no, if you want to do that, you have to build something for the people of Madrid. So he said, okay, I'll build a ski dome. So he spent like 65 million euros on building a ski dome plus a shopping mall for 180 million. Ridiculous. And we were there for the opening show.
Is this?
Sorry?
What year is this?
Oh.
What decade?
2003, 4, 5, always around there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, maybe 7, maybe 7 or 8 even. Somewhere there. That decade.
Yeah.
So long story short, like we also build like the park. Like we build a big air, we build an aerial jump, we build a quarter pipe at the end. We put in a couple of rails that the guy ordered, and then on the last day of construction, or second to last day, couple days anyway, they bring in that huge rainbow rail, and we set it up, and we go out that evening, and I think we even had the weekend off, and then we come back, and I was pretty tired, and of course, it was Madrid, and we stayed in a 5-star hotel. Everybody in a single room service, all included. Like we were well off, and I tried the rainbow rail, and the metal was just too soft, and I dug in on the highest point and went head first off the rainbow into the icy landing flat ski dome slope, and ruined my collarbone.
Oh no. Was that like first hit too, or?
That was first hit on that rail, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Not good for a ski show either, huh?
Not at all. I was out.
Oh jeez. Did you
out.
knock yourself out too?
No.
Oh.
No.
I thought we said I was out, like
No, I was out for the show. But
yeah.
funny enough, the guy, the organizing, or the guy building the ski dome, that his name was Jafar Jalabi, and he invited us for dinner with him and his family, and we got to that place, and it was, they eat really late in Spain, so it must have been past 10, and we go to that restaurant. It was completely empty, and we're like, something's wrong. No, the guy like rented out the entire restaurant for us. We were, I think, a total of 20 people. So it was one table, him, his family, and us as the team. And we had a really good time when we talked for hours and had drinks. And he asks me, like, is there anything that he can do for us to make the show better? And the only thing that really sucked was the lift, because it was way too slow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing. But you're not gonna get any skidos, are you? And he's like, "What's a skido?" And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was Friday evening. It was Friday evening in Madrid. And on Monday, when we arrived at the ski dome, there were 3 brand new skidos.
Like brand new?
Waiting for us, brand new.
That's nuts.
And he came in, he always had this big cigar in his mouth, and he came in, and we had just finished shaping the quarter pipe, and to get more speed, so we were pulling at each other, like with the skido down the ski dome, because it was, it's just way too flat to get good air.
Yeah.
And he saw that, and he wanted to try, and he kept lapping with me. He was driving the skido and pulling, getting me speed into the quarter pipe for like a good hour, and he was getting faster and faster every time. And on the last time, I let go, and I look back for a second, and I see the skido go like starting to wobble, and he flies off the skido, starts flipping over and rolling, and he's lying in the snow, and I get there, I'm like, "Hey, are you okay?" He's like, and he's just lying on his back, still with his cigar in his mouth, laughing his ass off. And yeah, super interesting, cool dude. And then when I got hurt, he was super nice as well. He got me like his private doctor, and he got me a limo service so I could attend the opening ceremony. Even though I wasn't skiing, I could attend the whole show and everything. So it was, and he even paid me some extra money. So he was a super correct guy.
That's sick. Wild story. The Ski-Doo. But is Ski-Doo a European thing? Is snowmobile for any Americans listening? Just
Oh,
FYI, if that are, I don't know if people say ski. No, people say Ski-Doo in the US too, right?
I mean, Skeeta's the brand, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, Skeeta's a brand. I maybe that's the only thing we ever had in Europe back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, there's Polaris and there's all kinds of different ones now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, towing into jumps with those is nuts too. That Simon Dumont video is also just engraved in my mind.
he broke his femur there.
I'm surprised he didn't break everything there.
Mhm. Well, dude, he was he was a feisty little dude. That kid was a machine always.
Just like
Tough
a
kid.
cannonball.
Yeah, remember that Aspen quarter pipe thing that he did?
Yeah, where he just boosted the living daylights out of it. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
but I think like decked it once out of like 6 meters
Yeah.
and continued.
Also,
Like,
like,
oh,
I'm not surprised quarter pipes aren't around that much anymore.
mm,
They look really sketchy. I mean, I'm no vert skier by any means, but I will psych myself out going like a meter 50 over the coping, you know? So I just am acutely aware of this like solid ice chunk
mhm.
or edge that can just very much hurt me or like bounce me whatever how many meters down to just like flat. And for what? Like I'm getting more airtime on the jump over there, you know?
See, like I mean, pipe skiing is so difficult. I mean, snowboarding same thing, but it's a pipe is a beast, and you gotta slay it, and you gotta put like six or however many hits in there, everyone perfect on every inch of takeoff and every line. Dude, pipe skiing is hats off. Holy
Yeah,
shit!
really. I
And then if you think of like back to Simon Demore, like dude, that kid is impressive. Have you seen that cube pipe that he did?
yeah,
Yeah,
nuts.
that's dude.
Sick
All
project.
right, whatever's wrong with you, dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, dub 12 over a gap. I think he did over
Mm.
like one of the whatever the snowmobile for pipes are called too, like the wipers or something.
The pipe dragon, yeah,
Yeah, nuts. Dude, do
yeah.
you oh, I was wondering this too. Was pipe skiing bigger than slopestyle or big air at some point? 'Cause I think back to just like, Dumont versus or Simon versus Tanner. And that always felt like the big X Games moment. And I feel X Games always banked on snowboard superpipe as their like big event as well. Like that, I was wondering if that is something you notice or like has changed or anything. Because nowadays, I mean, no offense to pipes here, I think Nico is fucking killing it in it and like trying a bunch of cool new stuff. But I do wonder
Absolutely.
like where
It,
that progression's gone.
uh, we're back to what it was. Like back in the day, that was a made media show with that rivalry, and that was there, and that was just perfect because it was Simon versus Tanner. There was the years when it was Kevin Roland, and before him it was Xavier Bertoni. He won 1 year, and then and it was Tanner against this guy. But that already was not as exciting because the Frenchie that can't really speak English well, that is not as marketable and not as media, not as loud. I mean, you know, Tanner versus, you put them on interviews and they would go at it and go after each other and be like creating that whole drama that made it that big. The level, I don't know. There has always been ridiculous half pipe skiers, and sometimes progression goes faster. Sometimes it takes a bit. I mean, look at snowboarding now. What do we have? Triple 16 is that now?
Yeah, someone did one. Well, Hunter Hess did it on skis.
Triple 16.
Yeah, a summer or two ago at Hood. It's pretty nuts. I'll send you the video. But he did it before snowboarding.
Sick.
Skiing.
Sick. Holy shit. Respect, Hunter.
It looks as gnarly as it sounds, too. Like, not chill at all.
Can't be chill. I mean, the snowboarding one does look decent, chill even.
Yeah, it looked like.
But I just find it a lot easier to get like super compact on a snowboard than on skis.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been interesting just seeing how that evolved also. Did you ever make it out to X Games, or was that ever on your roadmap?
That would have been. I got an invite one year. I would have gotten the invite the year that I blew my knee.
Oh, fuck. What happened there? What happened with your knee?
Oh, I just JOI finals, KO system. My next opponent was PK Hunter, the man who brought out to me, like he was the first guy that I saw do really good double 10s, double 12s.
Yeah.
And that was the year that he brought those out. So I already did a Switch 14 in qualies, and we were not allowed to do any trick twice. Mm-hmm. So I ended up trying to go.
Oh, you can do the Switch 14 from qualies again?
No.
Oh, that sucks.
And I was going KO against PK, who did the Switch 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I had to go all in. So I was going for 16. Didn't make it.
Really? Just on the Switch 16?
What? The knee?
Yeah.
No, I was going for the 16. I ended up doing a 12 because I fucked up the takeoff already and had the back seat try to land it. But the goal was the 16 because I knew with the 12 I had no chance.
Yeah. That's so much set on a 16 too. That's
yeah. Well, the good thing was there was a team competition the night before,
mm-hmm.
and the teams kind of fell apart. So they would have had the winning team would have gotten invited to an ice ring and do like race Porsches on an ice ring on Sunday. And because the teams fell apart because a lot of people got like pulled out or got hurt, they took the top three, and I think I ended up second in that comp. So I got to race Porsches on Sunday with a blown knee though, but it was well worth it.
That's cool, at least. What you end up doing on your knee, was it just ACL or
ACL, meniscus, MCL?
Bummer. How is it now?
Yeah. Sorry?
Did you end up doing it again, or did you just get the surgery, rehab, and you were good to go?
No, surgery, and I was good to go. But I was really careful from then on. Definitely changed my whole career or my mindset, and also my willingness to risk as much.
Yeah,
I mean, the way back was just a good half a year through
not nice times for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'd love to hear about how that shifted your perspective on things. Maybe we can just tie it into like a final global timeline for Life of Marty. Was that the year, by the way, PK broke his neck too? Or was that JOI?
I think that was the year after that he broke his neck.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty gnarly too.
Mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah. So, but yeah, when I mean, I did, because I started quite young. I mean, I joined the national team, the Austrian freestyle national team when I was 14.
there was one. That's sick. I just,
Yeah, but for aerials, obviously. And then going like getting older, and especially that year with my knee and PK bringing the double 10, the double 12, and then it shifted in that year. A lot shifted and a lot changed. A lot of people like got on these new tricks and got really good with them. And for me, I wasn't willing to really learn all that new stuff anymore. So I basically downshifted a bit and slowly let my career fade out. I remember it really well, but like I don't know. You from Switzerland? You remember Freestyle.ch?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was in Zurich always. And they had it once in Berlin. It was called Freestyle Berlin, and
Oh,
they only did it once. And that was my competition where I knew that my career is over. And it was shit weather. It was raining. There was not really any people, and I had fucked up my or not completely fucked up. I did a switch 10. It wasn't perfect, but I got really bad scores. Not saying bad that they were not correct. I'm saying just not high
yeah, it's
points.
with that. Yeah.
And I was nowhere close to making the cut for finals. So I knew I definitely had to step it up to switch 12 on back in the day. These in city jumps, they were not as big as they are now, and the switch 12 would really take all the speed you could get and like perfect rotation and. So I
Is
was
this
like, you know
before or
what?
after the knee?
That was after the knee. After the knee. And there I knew I'm not willing to risk it anymore. And I just basically for me in my head I ended my career right there in the gate. And I just did a switch backflip, landed perfectly fine and knew for myself. The crowd loved it, the 5 people that were there or 7 or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for me, I knew that was it. That was a good end to my competitive skiing career. I did continue for a couple, like I think 2 1.5 years more, doing a couple comps, but then also like when I was at comps where I didn't feel that comfortable, I grabbed a mic or something and started to host a little bit there. And at the same time, I was skiing back then. I was skiing for Nordica,
Mhm.
and when they signed me, I was skiing for Fisher before that, and Fisher got fucked overnight. Like my team manager called me with tears, like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." That was end of September, where you can't really find a ski sponsor anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry they kicked us all out. So they basically froze all budgets for free skiing, kicked out team manager, marketing, and everybody on that. Not only riders, everybody on the team.
Damn.
And I was basically stranded. And then I I got an opportunity to ski for Nordica, and got a deal with them with the CEO back then, making me like getting me on the team and like doing the contract with me. And he like also funny story. He was like, you probably don't remember me because he was the CEO for Vocal first when I skied for them, and then when I was with Fischer, he was already with Nordica, and he was at the Freestyle.ch that I won. And I was sitting there in the Fisher booth after the competition. Everybody was breaking down tents and shit. And the Nordica guys were trying to break down a tent where you need 4 people to bring it back together, and there were only 3, and it didn't work. And I just, jumped up from the chair and helped them for like a second.
Yeah.
And the guy, the CEO, saw that, and then when he found out that I'm looking for a sponsor, he was like, "This is the guy I want on my team," because he would just won a competition, but he just gets up and helps people and sees if there is work. And that's how I got my deal with Nordica. And also became Nordica International Team Manager after I quit my ski career. And that was already basically that route was already set by him from when I signed the first day with Nordica.
Nice. I didn't know that. And then, so I guess where do you go from there? So ski career, comps, do well, jump around with a bunch of sponsors, and then that goes into, I guess, 2008, 9 ballpark.
Yeah, did a couple of movie projects with Rage Films One, and we had like local team movies and Fisher team movies in Nordica, and I did stuff with Stefan Häusler, like he brought out a movie where I had segments in, and then basically I calmed my skiing down and started to find a job that is still in the industry that I still like, because I quit school because I decided that I wanted to go for sports. And then started being the team manager for Nordica. Then the whole FIS aspect came in, and as I was in the Austrian Ski Federation very young, I knew all the people, and they knew my career in aerials, and then for freestyle skiing as well. So they offered me the job for head coach. So I was the Austrian national team head coach for 5 years, and then quit that because my daughter was born and I wanted to be home more. And while doing all that, I was already hosting quite some free ski events just because it was fun, and I was working for the Austrian television, and that whole thing felt really good for me. So I started hosting more, and that's what I still do nowadays. I host sport events all over Europe. In winter, it's mostly ski and snowboard. We're a team of 2 now. Basically, it's Henry Jackson, Mr. Snowboard, and myself for skiing. And we do pretty much all the World Cups in Europe and all the cool competitions there are as well.
Nice. What's your favorite event to like broadcast? Yeah, to host.
Well, Poor Big Air is sick because the format is sick. It's roughly 20,000 people, which you normally don't get in our line of sport. So that's something that always goes off. But we're gonna have the Klagenfurt Big Air this year from the 4th and the 5th of January. So if you're around Klagenfurt in Austria, January 4th and 5th, we have a snowboard and free ski Big Air World Cup in the city, like in the soccer stadium, with massive live acts like Culture Candela and I think Bones MC, or is it Rough Gamora? I don't know. Like cool acts that you should not miss out on.
Right on.
And of course, the best skiers and snowboarders on this planet.
Yeah. Sick. Dude, I feel like I could still ask you so much more, so much we get into, but we should wrap it up. We do attempt to time box it. I'll ask you one last question. Shout out to Ethan, because I know he likes to ask this one. You've been around skiing for a while. You've seen a lot. Any hot takes on anything in ski world?
Any hot takes?
Good old controversial opinion.
Oh, controversial opinion you want?
Or any take. We'll take words of wisdom. Whatever you got.
All right, I'll give you one. Let me. Okay. One thing that I can drop now. I'm telling you, within the next 4 years, make it 5 so we can get the next Olympics in. So next one is Milano. next year, and then by the next Olympics, we're gonna have a field of Chinese free ski craziness, just like the Japanese snowboarders are. That's something I can give you, because that's the trend that it's going to. Incredible, big, like, airbag monsters that know every trick and do it to perfection, with a Japanese drill in training. This can go really far and really not the way that I would like it to go, but
Dude, I don't doubt
I'm
that.
glad I lived the golden times.
Oh yeah, you were like peak golden time. But did you see that video of it's like some Chinese kids and it's 1.5 years of progression in free skiing. I think they just like randomly pick kids and like you're gonna be skiers now. They bring the kids in, they like did not know how to ski at all at the start of this. 18 months into it, this kid's got switched up 12s. He's probably
Yeah,
competing right now because this wasn't that long ago.
yeah.
He is, but I was like,
Do you know that they're like the way you have the SATs? See, everybody has to take their SATs.
yeah,
In China, everybody has. I don't know what age exactly it is, but at that age, everybody has to go to a testing facility, and they get measured and tested, and then from what their body type is, get put into the right things to do. So like the gymnast, if you're flexible and have good air awareness, then you're going to be a gymnast. Or if you're very tall and have good hand-eye coordination, you're going to be a basketballer. So every person in China has to go through that test and be evaluated to become whatever they think is good for you.
yeah.
Hey, maybe the Chinese government is already listening and they're coming for me.
No,
No,
enough
yeah,
countries where we're just, discussing facts that we've seen online.
no, it's I don't want to. I mean, yes, I want to say that the sport has become very different than it used to be, but that doesn't make it any worse or any less lovable.
Yeah, I echo that. I think like all the new tricks and everything that's come through is, it's cool. Why not? What I think is just pretty disappointing from where it was at when I got into it 15 years ago is it looks to me like there's way less money in it. And just everything has gone completely nationalized and subsidized by different countries to boost performance at the Olympics or whatever it is, versus just, what it was back in the, your era of skiing where brands were throwing so much money on athletes and like as a fan, I knew exactly like what coat every pro skier had, what ski they were on. Yoon Olsen having whatever new ex-girlfriend on his skis, and all that good stuff. And it's just like so much culture that I felt like kind of died away. That along with rail jams just poof, gone also. And so like I've heard kids don't
No,
even
they're not.
money. They're not.
And
Well,
this is how we're gonna end this today.
plug.
There is rail jams again, and yes, we're doing it. It's called Rock and Rail. Come join us, Innsbruck, November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th for a ski and snowboard rail jam extravaganza combined with a snow sports village, so you can test out all kinds of winter sports. All this for free for you. 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of November, and of course, we're also gonna go to Den Haag in the Netherlands, and that is on December 6th and 7th.
For the after party,
That's my plug.
Is going to be pretty good too.
Oh, I heard about the after party. You're absolutely right. We have 3 after parties lined up in Innsbruck. That is November 21st. Is that correct? November 21st, we are at John Montagu.
Yeah.
November 22nd, we are Jimmy's and Blue Chip, and November 23rd, again, Jimmy's and Blue Chip. Get your tickets now at www.rockrail.com.
CHAT
It's not, I think. It's neither.
.T-roll. You can
Either
do
way.
.T-roll. Did you know that?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, or just go to snowfest.com.eu and you're good.
Also, now I will level with you. I think this podcast is going to come out after the events, but
That's a good thing. Oh, that's not a good thing.
that's not a good.
Okay, so we have to do it all over
2025.
again. Cancel the podcast. We starting over.
Marty, man,
All
thanks
right.
for
Next
chatting.
time. Hey, more than welcome. That was a blast.
Yeah, I'll have to pick your brain over a beer next time, somewhere in Innsbruck. Get more of the. I love
Looking forward to it.
stories of just like all the pros and everything, because I always looked up to them watching movies, kind of like starting skiing. I was like, whoa, like this is the shit. These guys are just like probably partying everywhere, like getting mad cash just for skiing. Like, what a life. You know? Yeah.
Well, maybe you want to have me again to hear the story from the last kiss of Gus Kenworthy and the girl, or knife hits with
Is that a
keep it at
cliffhanger that I hear? Stay tuned for episode 2. Maybe coming to a Spotify playlist near you. All right, dude.
Take care. That was fun.
Thanks again.